Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Megan Kelly, and welcome to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Welcome to our distinguished guests, to our host, President Putin, and to all of you. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. Yes, yes. How about for our host and our guests? We've been in St. Petersburg for a few days and understand that this is an important place, a personal place to President Putin, and now we understand why. It's incredibly beautiful, the gorgeous rivers, the romantic bridges, the beautiful weather, right? And most of all, the lovely people who have given us such a warm welcome, and I'll tell you, just in our few days here, have made us feel like we have far more in common than we do apart. And so the world leaders need to figure out the differences, but I think the people feel bonded in a lovely way. So today we're going to have some opening remarks, and then we'll get into some questions and hopefully mix it up a little bit. And with that, I turn it over to our host, Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's my pleasure to welcome all the participants of the 21st St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, heads of international institutions, heads of state, and representatives of the government, leaders of business from dozens of countries from throughout the globe. We appreciate sincerely your interest towards the Russian Federation, your resolve to maintain dialogue and partnership. We're open for joint work to implement mutually beneficial projects, to cooperate in resolving most important strategic issues of the global development. Only in concert, uniting our efforts, we can overcome the current disbalances and provide for sustainable growth of the global economy, elaborate fair rules of trade and fair competition, reduce the level of poverty, resolve acute social and welfare issues, cope with such threats as terrorism, regional conflicts and controversies, propagation of nationalism, xenophobia. We are not only at the threshold, we have already facing huge civilizational challenges. The ecosystem burden is going up as a result of man-made impact and natural developments and disasters. These issues want profound investigation analysis, but it's obvious that elaborating our policies, joint policy of action, we should be consistent and responsible. Only like this we can implement the necessary decisions in the interest of the global harmonious development. New technology keep changing the current pattern of life, form new fields and professions, open new avenues for development and give rise to new threats. I know that all of you yesterday have been working hard, meeting in different sessions, discussion platforms and roundtables. All that was voiced, but still I would like to reiterate, we are facing systemic long-term challenges, and all the repercussions currently we cannot calculate and reckon and forecast, and we cannot waste time bickering, be engaged in strife and playing geopolitical games. We need wisdom and responsibility. We need to search for unconventional solutions. We need new formats of interaction by states, regional integration groups, interaction between business community and academia. We need to use the potential of such a unique universal entity as the United Nations organization. And here we have the Secretary General attending this plenary. I'd like to thank you, Your Excellency. Let's welcome the UN Secretary General with a round of applause. We suggest that the platform of St. Pete should see a special international youth section established, as it's the youths that will define the day of tomorrow. These are the people who will build our new future and live there. The participants of that section could jointly analyze and shape and construct a concept of future for their countries and civilizations by and large. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, Russia has been contributing and will be stepping up its contribution to the resolution of global problems. We have been implementing large-scale environmental programs, including in the Arctic region. We've been stepping up high-quality food supplies to global markets. We've been stepping up our participation in the programs by World Health Organization to find answers to global challenges. We're ready to use the powerful potential of Russian basic science. Thanks to the great schools in mathematics and theoretical physics, we're able to attain leadership in a number of lines and areas of the so-called new economy. I'm referring primarily to the digital economy. Russian IT enterprises are globally competitive. Russian professionals not only suggest and offer the best software solutions, they create a new environment for developments of economy and life. By seizing the opportunity, I would like, by the way, to congratulate the students of St. Pete ITMO University that have been able to once again, for the 7th time running, to win the first place at the ACM International Collegiate Programming Contest. And our host has mentioned the wonderful people residing in St. Pete, and she's quite right. These are deserving people, and they merit our praise. The youths of St. Pete do merit our praise, and they are a confirmation of that. To step up our personnel, intellectual and technological advantages in digital economy, we will act in areas of systemic importance. What am I referring to? First, we need to come up with a brand new flexible regulation to deploy digital technology in all the spheres of life. And at that, we should make all our decisions bearing in mind the needs of information security of the government, state, business, and our people. Second, the government will support those companies that are bearers of solutions and competence in IT that are of wide-reaching inter-sectoral effect. These are big data analysis and processing, artificial intelligence and neurotechnology, Internet of Things, technologies of virtual and augmented reality, a number of others. Third, with the participation of state and private enterprise, we will create supporting infrastructure for the digital economy, including secure communication lines and data centers. By the way, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that this infrastructure should be based on the state-of-the-art technology and solutions. Fourth, we want to manifold step up the training of specialists in digital economy. We want to resolve a broader task of a national scale to attain the universal digital literacy. For that, we need to step up the system of education at all levels, starting from schools and up to higher schools and universities. And definitely we should deploy programs of training for different age groups. Under my instruction, the government of the Russian Federation prepared a program to bolster the digital economy. I'd like to draw attention to the fact that we should be clear about the funding and mechanisms thereof, and we will discuss all these issues at the next meeting of Council for Strategic Development and Priority Projects. Dear colleagues, I reiterate, the digital economy is not a separate industry. It is, by and large, a foundation that will help us create brand new business models, models of trade, logistics, and patterns of production. Will change the format of education, healthcare, public administration, communications between our people, and respectively will set the new paradigm of development for the government, economy, and the whole of the society. In this domain, we will erect our economic and technological policy, industry and infrastructural development. Will shape open, fair, and liberal environment, business environment, and flexible labor market. Will solve goals that will help attain long-term growth. Right now, we can say that we're seeing a new upcycle in our economy. The GDP of the Russian Federation has been growing the third quarter in a row. Preliminary, we assess that in April it increased by 1.4%. Car sales are going up as well as mortgage lending. Why am I mentioning all that? The specialists and professionals know that globally experts believe that these indicators are very important signs of economic recovery and surge in consumer demand. Like for you to know, I can tell you that in the first 4 months of this year, we have seen the sales of cars going up by 2.1%. We have attained the inflation targets, and we expect that as a result of the year, it's going to be below 4 points, which is our target. And thanks to that, the Bank of Russia has been gradually reducing its policy rate. By the by, on the sidelines of the forum, international investors and business representatives have noted high quality of Russian macroeconomic policy. Yesterday, I met with representatives of global major investment funds, and we talked that it's a weighty argument for them to stay at Russian market and come to Russian market. As a result of the first quarter inflow, the FDI into the Russian economy was at $7 billion. I will note that it's the best indicator over that period in the past 3 years. By and large, investment in the first quarter increased by 2.3%. Hence, what I would like to emphasize and underline, today we are facing a situation when the growth of investment is outperforming the growth of GDP. This is another testimony of the fact that, as I said, the economy is entering a new phase of growth. We're seeing a new foundation being fledged for its future development. We should support and expedite these positive trends so that in 2019 and 2020 we should reach the outstripping growth of economic development above the global ones. We should raise investment activities by primarily private enterprise. We did a lot to amend federal legislation, to dismantle administrative barriers, to optimize supervisory procedures and functionality. International professionals assess that over the past 5 years, Russia has demonstrated the best versus peers dynamics in improving its business climate. We have gone up 80 positions in the well-known doing business scale. It's important that while shaping an open and favorable business environment, we see the participation of our regions of this country. And to cite a few examples, I may name Tatarstan, Chuvastia, the city of Moscow, the region of Tula and Kaluga. This year, they have become leaders in the national investment climate ranking. A number of... Let's congratulate them, yeah. A number of constituent entities of the Russian Federation, for example, Moscow and Kaliningrad regions, St. Pete, have attained a step change in their business environment. It's noteworthy that for the first time, we can see our far eastern regions, Khabarovsk and Amurska region, among the leaders in improving their business climate. I'm turning to all the governors of the Russian regions. I'm turning to all of them. You should keep working hard to gather pace and open new avenues for your companies for successful work. It's of importance for all the entrepreneurs and all the people that their rights and property and business are upheld and defended efficiently. In this respect, I want to say that we have approved some proposals to amend our judiciary. It has been discussed with experts and the leadership of the Supreme Court of the Russian Federation. It's about strengthening the independence of judges and improvement of training of judges. We want to optimize the judicial processes and reduce the unwanted burden on judges. We aim at providing additional guarantees for fair-minded and honest and just judiciary. We have come up with a new set of tools to support investment projects. We will develop them and make them more flexible and targeted. What are we proposing in this respect? First, we should put on a systemic basis the mechanism of project finance. We should minimize risks for investors at all stages, from the preparatory one and up to the final ones, the stage of implementation, including inter alia, with the help of partial governmental guarantees, so that we can attract different types of funding from banks, investment companies, pension funds. I would like to ask the government and the Bank of Russia to expedite the hearing of amendments to legislation that would make the mechanisms of syndicated loans more flexible. Just yesterday, last night, we discussed that with colleagues, and that should be done ASAP. All that will allow us to provide for considerable growth in private financial resources that would be channeled to help launch new projects in the real sector of our economy. Second, to provide for the outstripping pace of economic development. What we need is to step up our investments in transport, energy sector, communications and other infrastructure. A source of additional investment may be private capital and should be private capital, but there are some impediments here, mostly because of the high level of risks. Therefore, we should establish a fair and transparent and clear set of rules that would uphold the interests of investors. The return of investments should be guaranteed with the help of regular payments that will flow from the main beneficiaries of the infrastructure facilities and installations. These are different levels: budgets, infrastructural monopolies, and other users of infrastructure. To provide for this system of payment, we may use the mechanism of governmental guarantees. I'm referring to a certain infrastructural mortgage lending, when facilities and installations would be bought and constructed on credit that was received from private investors, and the users of the facility will gradually repay the loan. To launch this model, I would ask the federal government to come up with an integrated approach, develop infrastructure funding with the participation of private capital, encompassing all stages: preparatory funding stage and the implementation stage. Dear colleagues, it's in our interest to see investments flowing in high-tech sectors of the economy. Several days ago, we have witnessed a maiden flight of a promising Russian medium-range aircraft, MC-21. I'd like to thank everybody. I already talked with the CEO of the works. I'd like to congratulate everybody. Thank you. I'm referring to the aircraft construction sector and other spheres that are of critical importance for our development. We need our own designs and solutions and competence. We should restore that or create them anew. These are advanced industrial materials and technologies, energy systems of accumulation of energy, transport and logistics, information security systems, Arctic technology and offshore development technologies, diagnostics and treatment, agricultural and food technologies. Untying those technology nodes is only possible with the help of major private investors that want new technological solutions and want to diversify their own business so that they can actively get involved in this work. They definitely would need to see favorable, transparent conditions. That can be done with the help of the special investment contract. And I suggest we should think about how to promote that mechanism and streamline that mechanism. We have already seen it in practice. It's in place, but it should become more efficient. We could extend the timeline of contracts from 10 to 20 years. We should provide an opportunity that not only federal authorities and regions investors, but also development institutions and banks and natural monopolies and other structures could participate in a flexible manner. It's about critically important fields. It's about where the investors, without the governmental support, without clear, transparent system would flow in as the benefit and the profit at such projects is not immediate. It's not swift money.
We should also provide more guarantees for demand on the products that are created as part of the special investment contract on the part of the government and the companies with the government participation. And for the whole term of the contract, we should provide the investor with unchangeable tax conditions and other conditions related to state regulation. As for the tax, I would like to suggest that the tax break should be extended for the profit tax beyond 2025. I'd like to decisions dedicated to critically important technologies should not undermine the competitive environment and the economy as a whole. I would like to ask the government to analyze all these issues and come up with concrete proposals. And the coming meeting with the business community, we're going to talk in detail about our dimensions and joint work to find solutions to our technological development. Moving on, very often the so-called startups are the carriers of breakthrough innovations. They are mostly set up by young research teams, and I'm confident they can be an efficient partner of large-scale Russian business, and we're going to expand this partnership, creating the necessary infrastructure on the basis of our leading higher education institutions. We would like to create innovative science and technology centers, which are going to comprise both education, research foundation, high technology and venture enterprises, and they're going to be closely integrated. I'd like to address the leadership of our largest companies, such as Rostec, Roscosmos State Corporation, United Aircraft Corporation, United Shipbuilding Corporation, Rosatom, as well as other Russian high-technology companies. I call on you to use actively the opportunities that open up. You've got to create special departments that are going to work purposefully with startups and new innovative companies and to set up venture funds to fund these projects. This should not be just idle words. This has to be done, and as soon as possible. The large-scale business, in its turn, should have a special legal mechanism for acquiring equity of small innovative companies. I would like to ask the State Duma and the government to take the necessary amendments to the legislation. Friends, we are going through a very difficult, controversial, but very interesting period, which is full of new ideas, discoveries, projects, and very fast changes. In order to live up to the challenges of the time, we need perseverance and will. We take part in building the future, which has always been determined by audacious people who know what they aspire to, those who want to turn their intellectual capabilities and entrepreneurship into deeds that are bringing good to the country. And these people succeed. They're very young, and they build new business, achieve success in science. They implement civil and social initiatives. And therefore, we are going to multiply our human potential and capital. And I'm confident that we will be able to secure a sustainable long-term growth, as well as a new quality of our economy. We'll be able to transform Russia to make the life of our citizens better. Ahead of us is a great deal of creative work, and we call all of you to join in this partnership, which is going to be interesting and mutually beneficial. And I welcome you to Russia and to join work with Russia. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, President Putin. And we're going to continue with the speeches in just a minute, but they've encouraged me to ask questions in between if I have any, and I have one that I want to ask Mr. President. You mentioned that Russia's entering a new phase of growth right now, but there remains in Russia a significant income inequality problem. They say that the top 1% here in Russia holds over 70% of the wealth. And just walking around talking to some of the Russian people, they say they're spending too much money on food. They're spending too much money out of their budget on shoes. What's being done to address that?
In order to address this matter, the program I've just mentioned has to be implemented. We've got to develop new technologies. I'm not referring to just wasting money to distributing them for free. What I'm talking about is the need for our economy to generate more income, and this, in turn, will bring more money to people. They will earn more. This can only be done through new technologies, including digital technologies. The problem you referred to does indeed exist, but this is not just a characteristic of Russia. Many other economies face it as well. We are aware of this problem. We recognize it. This is a very sensitive matter. That's the first thing. But secondly, we cannot wait for too long. That's why the government has to seek instruments, ways to redistribute resources in order to support those who find themselves in a difficult life situation. We've got many instruments like that at our disposal. In particular, I refer to supporting low-income families, helping them to pay utilities. It might seem trivial, but it is of great importance to people. I refer in particular to maternity capital, which we pay to families who've got 2 or more children. I know that you've got 3 children. If you were a Russian citizen, then we would have paid you this maternity capital as well. But this is not sufficient. We also need to build up this targeted support. On the one hand, we've got to help those people who have earned their money in an honest fashion. We've got to help them invest into the development of our economy, not into mere consumption. On the other hand, we've got to come up with targeted measures to help those who need government support.
Thank you very much.